Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of the Virtual Ninja Show. Actually, 2 episodes because this is going to be a 2-part episode, and I have Corina back with me. Corina, for those that haven't seen you yet on the Ninja Show, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Kay. Hi, everyone. Good to be here again. I'm Corina Feuerstein. I'm a product manager in Microsoft Security, and I work on the integration of our Security Copilot capabilities for Microsoft Defender.
And this is our topic, right? So we're going to talk about how we can empower the SOC to do more and better with agentic AI that is either built into the system or with extra agents, how we call them. Those are our
Exactly.
2 parts here. So let's dive right into the topic. So what's the journey right now that you are seeing when it comes to AI for our SOC teams?
Right. Yeah. So it's a very exciting journey that we've been in probably for the last 2 years or so. And I think folks who follow the show probably saw our early days with Security Copilot in Defender and Sentinel. And it is indeed a journey. It's interesting how this technology evolves and how we can get more and more usage out of it to help our customers in the defense cyber defense areas. So to talk about the journey a little bit, first of all, I think that everyone now sees that this is going to be a very transformative technology, right? So we can see it starting to affect everything in our around us. I don't think there's anybody today that's not using some kind of AI in their on their phone, maybe on the day-to-day. And so it's very obvious that it's transforming all the different areas, and certainly cybersecurity as well, especially since we are also starting to see attackers take advantage more and more of these AI capabilities. And we know that if we don't use the same levels of technologies on the defense side, we are not going to be at an advantage. So we definitely have to, start adopting these capabilities and as much as we can everywhere in our cybersecurity defense world. So if you look at this one slide, this kind of tells us the journey that we think is happening, and also one that we have been on with Security Copilot and AI in Defender. And if you look at this from left to right, it's really like before this technology came along, it's been a lot of I'll do it kind of attitude, in the sense that the SOC team and all the people who are doing cyber security in organizations are basically doing a lot of manual work. Just basically,
Still.
Oh yeah, still we see it, and we know that this is a pain point. People are drowning in too many things to review, too much load, and also expertise that is often missing. That is very hard to find. And so when we started our journey with Security Copilot, we started with assistive capabilities, meaning, okay, the people in the SOC are still doing the majority of the work, but everywhere where they go in Defender, they have some assistance from Security Copilot, from the AI, to help them in a do-it-with-me type of, engagement, right? And that's how for folks who are already familiar with this, they always get the Security Copilot sidecar in Defender, in the portal, in many of the areas, and there's always something there for you, either a summary of what's going on or some guidance or whatnot. So I think, and in this space, we continue to innovate and to add more capabilities in the assistive area, and we'll talk about that in more detail. And then when you look at towards the right, we're seeing an evolution with the availability of AI agents towards a more autonomous world, which again will be gradual, but more and more we will be introducing agentic capabilities, where these AI agents are going to take full tasks, like end-to-end tasks that our people are doing manually today in the SOC, and just perform them autonomously.
And it's not that those SOC analysts then don't do anything anymore, there is still enough
Oh,
left, right?
of course not.
Okay,
Of
good.
course not. So, yeah, that's a very common question, obviously. But I think people should imagine that they basically now have a team that's working for them, right? So these agents are there to take on some of the tasks, some of the load, and just help basically the folks in the SOC. They still require guidance. The agents still require guidance. They still require often kind of steering, is what we like to call it. So giving them feedback, telling them where things are okay and where they need to change some things, training them and teaching them over time to become more and more autonomous. And I think the SOC team will be transforming its role in this world, but of course, will have to remain in a role where they oversee the agents. They give the agents tasks, tell the agents what to go do, and also again steer, train, provide feedback, manage, and so on. So and there's always going to be those cases that are new that we only see for the first time, where agents will need more guidance and more assistance, and our expert folks will have to guide them more, and slowly those cases will also become more and more autonomous. So it's really a collaboration between people and agents, where it's just the agents will be able to take on some of the activities for us.
So when we talk about this assistive defense and then also the more autonomous defense, and you mentioned, okay, our customers now already have the co-pilot experience when they go in the side pane. Who can use it? Like, is this included? Is part of it included? Like, what are the prerequisites for our customers to get all of this?
Yes. All right. That's a really good question. So I think folks who have been with us on this journey from the beginning are familiar with the fact that all of these AI capabilities are packaged into something that we call Security Copilot, that is an add-on basically, or a capability that you add into Defender and Sentinel with some capacity attached to it that we call SCUs, like security compute units. And you buy some portion of that, and then you use that. As you use the AI capabilities, it's kind of
Consumes the
capacity,
SCUs.
consuming that capacity. So the big news that we announced at Ignite, actually in last part of last year, is that we are actually giving now a certain capacity as part of the Microsoft 365 E5 license, free of charge. So if you have an M365 E5 license to our products, as part of that, you're getting also a pretty good amount of Security Copilot capacity or AI capacity to use with no additional charge. So that's, I think, a really big shift or change. It allows anyone who has this license to use Security Copilot out of the box and experience it, and use the agents and the skills and the capabilities, and really get some experience with it, and see how much it really helps them in their day-to-day. So I think that's like a really good way to start off and experience it.
Absolutely. So I think for everyone to either experience the embedded experience, which we are going to in a moment, or then explore the agents that are available and see the agent that makes a lot of sense for that organization. Another one might not be important to them, but experience them and learn them. Good. So I think for this episode now, let's have a look at some of the new assistive skills
Yes,
that
that's
we
right.
have in our Microsoft Defender portal.
Okay. So, Heike, let me show you what we have new and exciting in the area of assistive Copilot capabilities, which is our security Copilot skills embedded in the Defender portal. So, this is some extension to an existing feature. Folks who have been using Security Copilot may be familiar with our guided response feature. This is when you are investigating an incident. You have guidance on the side generated by Security Copilot of recommendations for what to do and how to investigate and remediate this incident. This is a feature that we've had, and we talked about it, I think, in one of our previous episodes, right?
Yes, I think we actually got guided through a ransomware attack or something, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you have an amazing memory.
Yes.
So you're right. So guided response is based on, looking back and analyzing similar incidents to the one that the analyst now has in front of them. And based on that, the Copilot AI models recommend what to do in this new case. One of the things that we heard a lot from our customers is that they would like to customize these recommendations to what they do in their environment. So every organization has their own ways of doing things and their own processes and their own preferences. And they wanted to customize this capability to their own liking.
It totally makes sense, Corina, right? As you said, they have their own processes, their own playbooks on how to deal with a certain type of attack, maybe. And if you have, let's say, analysts that are starting maybe at that company, and then they just follow the guided response that doesn't align maybe with the company style. So I love that the feedback was heard.
Exactly. So this is one of those examples where we exactly took what customers told us they want and delivered it. So a lot of organizations have these documents that are called standard operations procedures or SOPs. They're typically either Word documents or all sorts of formats. And they are the organization's guidance or policy for how to go do different things in operations. Certainly in the area of incident investigation and response, it's a very common practice. So what we did, since we have this amazing AI technology here, is we feed Security Copilot basically with these documents, or not we, but the customer does, right? They can upload any one of a few different formats of these documents to Security Copilot. And then Copilot analyzes that content and basically generates the customized guidance based on those SOPs. So there's two ways that the AI is invoked here. One is reading the document and being able to understand and translate just a doc into individual tasks and recommendations for what to do. And the second is when we have a new incident, there's a need to match an SOP to that incident. Which SOP should be performed when you're looking at this incident? And sometimes there may be actually more than one that might be a good match. So we use the AI to also indicate or do this matching, and it does it based on again the understanding of the content of the incident and understanding of the content of those SOPs.
And then still the guided response is also AI driven.
That's right. So guided response is still there, and that comes from the AI being applied to similar incidents in the past that have been observed either in this organization or across even organizations.
And now AI for this organization got improved to match what is important to this organization.
Exactly. So those recommendations are still relevant, but they're being augmented or modified or customized using the recommendations of the tasks that are in these or the tasks generated from these SOPs. So let me show you how it works. Yeah, you had another question.
I am just one, I don't know if it's a stupid question, but if now the SOP standard changes in an organization, can I remove that knowledge from Copilot again and then feed a new one? Or will I just feed a new one and it will still show the old one? Like, what's the
Yeah,
maintenance?
first of all, it's not a stupid question at all. It's a very relevant question. So yes, you can. So you have. I'll show you. You have a library of these SOPs that are remembered and uploaded. You can remove them and put other ones instead, and updated one. Um, and in this space, there is a lot of possibility also for additional functionality related to these SOPs that we have in plan. For example, you could now get a report that compares the SOP recommendations to what the analysts actually do in practice. And maybe as a SOC manager, you could compare the two, or have the AI actually compare them and ask you like which one you want to keep. So it could be that you'll see that your analysts are doing something that's actually better than the SOP. And this is an opportunity for the AI to go and update the SOP with the new, with the updated procedure. Or the other way around could be that your analysts are slacking and then and not actually following, or maybe they didn't notice, what's recommended there, and then maybe we want to do some training or some such. So there is a lot of really nice application of this capability of being able to read SOPs. So let me show you just really quickly how it works. Here we're looking at the Defender portal. We're seeing our typical incident that the analyst is now looking to investigate. And we want to customize the guided response that shows up here on the right to use SOPs from the organization. So you can start from a card that's right up here on the right that says you can create tasks from your own guidebooks, and it takes you to where you can upload your SOPs. You can also go to the Defender's settings page and upload the SOPs directly from there. Either way, in the custom guidebook configuration area, you can upload any number of files. You just click the option and to upload, and you can use PDFs, text files, Word documents. For here, I'll upload maybe an example guidebook that we had here, which is for handling suspicious login activity. So we click generate guidebook, and now Copilot reads the document and generates this guidebook. Now, the guidebook is actually a set of tasks that it's going to add into our guided response. So it's going to let you review it first of all to see that you like it. We can see that there's a new custom guidebook, and we can see the investigation steps in this case that were extracted from the SOP and turned into individual steps that will then later integrate into guided response, right? And you can see here there are some steps that are going to be just, okay, gather the IP address of geolocation and so on. This is not an action you would do necessarily inside the portal, but you get the recommendation for it in the guide, and you'll be able to manage it and set it as completed and whatnot. But you can see also it knows how to extract even specific KQL queries that maybe were in that SOP, and you might want to run them as part of your investigation. So this is quite powerful in terms of what the AI can extract from these documents. Now, let's assume we approve this guidebook. It's saved and it becomes active. And from here on, Copilot can identify the cases where it should apply this specific guidebook and then integrate these custom steps to the recommendations. So let's see how that looks like. Here we're back in our incident, and now you can see on the right, this is an example of multi-stage attack, and it has a suspicious login activity. And Copilot has automatically matched the custom guidebook that we uploaded before and shows the custom tasks in these recommendations. So the queries that we saw that came out of that SOP and other activities here are just listed in the guided response area and customized to this incident.
So, Corina, does the SOP document need to follow some not formatting, but because we had the suspicious sign in activity, it was the same name as our alert that was in the document? Or is the AI so smart that if they call it differently, that they match it to then our alerts, like as something that customers should look out for before they upload it, or just go for it?
No, so in fact, I think the fact first of all, the AI is very smart about it, and so this actually solves some of these problems that maybe we had before with these SOPs, right? Because in the past, how would people match it? It was an SOP by alert type or by alert title, and now imagine managing all these hundreds of SOPs each for a different alert. So that doesn't scale. So now you can have, or the alternative was that people would create SOPs that are more generic, like, okay, here's how to handle log on activity, but it doesn't have any specific title matching the alert. But then humans would have to do that matching to look at all their list of SOPs and figure out which one is the right one to use. Now we have this done automatically by the AI, and it is very smart about matching not only the title of the SOP, but actually it uses the entire content and description to understand where and when it's applicable to a specific incident. So it's and here again, there's different levels of evolution of this feature. Right now, it does a single SOP match to an incident, but going forward, you could get like multiple of them kind of merged together. And then, yeah, so the other thing is you could use a number of, and obviously one SOP can be matched to multiple incidents, of course. Yeah. So here you can see the recommendations, things like the queries that can be executed. By the way, here you can click, on one click, you can get this query into your hunting area and actually execute it. And there's other types of recommendations. You asked about the format of the SOP, I think, at the beginning, like inside of it. Does it need to have any certain format? No. Again, because Copilot is smart enough to extract the tasks out of there, regardless of what format the document is in. And remember, when you're doing the upload, you get a full preview of what tasks are going to be recommended, and you can tune that, like if it didn't quite get it right. And these tasks can be different ones. Is like the queries were investigation tasks. There can be also be remediation tasks.
Will the queries get translated into KQL if it's a different one? I don't know. Maybe they had a different language.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, so not right now, but that reminds me that we do have something brewing around helping customers just generally do migration of queries from different systems. And I think I can say, because it's that feature is already in preview. We're not covering it here, but it is a migration tool, and it does, again, using AI, have the capability of translating queries between languages. And so
Nice.
you could certainly get different content that wasn't used
so that
here.
skill set could be integrated in the SOC
in this feature.
migration, SOC, how we call it, SOAP guided response.
The customized guided response with SOPs.
Yes, you can connect that skill set to it.
That's right. Yes. So that's actually something interesting to think about here, which is that all these skills and capabilities are, we can mix and match them, and we can have them actually combined into multi-step workflows going forward. So we think about every one of these capabilities, the SOP matching and the query translation and whatnot. They can be building blocks to be used in other types of flows, and customers today can create, for example, SOAR logic apps that use these skills programmatically in other scenarios other than what we are necessarily showing here.
So I think this is amazing, and it will help customers to get the guided response to what is important for their organization. But then we also have something where analysts can learn more. We have the guided response, they learn from it, but there's more. What is the
Yes,
next
there
skill?
is. So the next skill, assistive skill that I wanted to show you, I'm really excited about it, just because there's so much potential, and not that there wasn't before, but this is really like maybe a special one. And we call it analyst notes, but really analyst notes is one application of what is behind this capability. And this capability is really about capturing how analysts do investigations and leveraging that knowledge for wide variety of capabilities. And the first one here is the analyst note. So what this feature does is you can turn on, first of all, this is an opt-in feature. So let's make that clear. If you want, you can opt into it. There is a lot of benefit to it, but you opt into basically having the AI or the copilot record the analyst activity as they go about and do their investigation in the portal. Usually, you might want to do this for your expert analysts, but it actually you can do it. You can use it for any of the analysts. And when you do that, think about it as an observation mode, and it observes the analyst operating and doing incident investigation and response. And then when you ask it, it can reconstruct that entire investigation timeline, including all the steps, actions, queries, everything that was done in that investigation, and generate a summary as well as a full log of your investigation automatically. And that saves a lot of time, as folks might
Uh,
know.
I it's amazing, but I also find it sounds spooky. So let's clarify a few things. You already mentioned you can enable that feature in general, that it is available.
Right.
And then it is not just recording for every analyst automatically the
Oh, no,
screen.
no.
So the analyst has to say, okay, now let's start recording my session, my investigation. And that video that is being captured is only capturing the tab in the one tab that it is, or multiple Defender
Yeah.
tabs, or the full browser, or what's being captured here?
So first of all, it's all controllable, and you can, as a SOC admin, you can first of all turn it on, and then decide where what it's recording, or who it's recording, and so on. In for every analyst that is helping with, or is turning on this feature, or this feature is turned on for, the feature is only recording the activity in the Defender window, in the Defender tab in the browser. In fact, we've heard from customers actually that they want more than that, if anything, because you can imagine that when analysts operate on incidents, they go to different tools. And they use different tools. They don't use only Defender. They spend a lot of time in Defender, but they might use different tools. At the moment, we are only recording the Defender window, and we'll see how the feature evolves. And if we already see that there is demand, we might extend it. And again, it's a choice that customers can decide how they want it done. But even with the current Defender window recording, the resulting telemetry, basically about how an investigation was conducted, is unbelievably rich, and so much richer than what you might get from just logs that we have today in the system. So I think that's the big advantage here.
Let's have a
So
look.
yeah, shall I show you how it works? All right. So when that feature is turned on, imagine that there is an investigation session memory that is started in the background. And as long as you are investigating in an incident, the system is basically snapshotting what is happening in the portal.
So hang on, Corina. So, but when the feature is turned on, you as an analyst still need to say, start recording the screen now, or is it doing this all the
No,
time for everyone in the portal?
no, not for everyone. But when it's on for you, then it knows how to identify that you are now starting to investigate an incident. And
Mhm.
that's when the session, the basically the recording session starts.
Okay.
And it also knows when the investigation ends. So it knows when to basically start recording, stop recording by itself.
Okay,
And
you
you can
don't
also
have to say
investigate.
anything.
No,
Okay.
it's just like hands off from the moment that you said I'm good with that. And also you can investigate multiple incidents in parallel. So you can have multiple windows, Defender windows open. You can work on this one, on that one. It knows how to identify which activity belongs where, and map all of that just by the AI. And now, at any point in time, you can ask it to prepare my analyst notes. You see that little menu option there? It doesn't have to be at the very end of the investigation. So sometimes what happens is multiple analysts might work a case. Maybe it's like a really complex case, and one analyst might do some part of the investigation and end their shift, and then the next shift might start. When they end their shift and they're in the middle of an investigation, they can still say, please prepare the analyst notes up to now. And that actually can then be used, for the next person over to know
Hand
what.
over.
Yes, exactly. So just maybe a note about this and how it's different than the incident report. If you remember, we have a feature in Copilot. It's called an incident report, which
Summarizes the
takes.
incident.
Yeah, exactly. That summarizes the activity. Once all the activity was logged, that gives you sort of like an end, summarization. But this one is actually giving you the details, or generating the details of the activity, the log itself, that then can be summarized, right?
But can I add something? Can I add notes to it? So let's say I investigated an IP address and I came to a verdict, like that is not included in recording my screen. So how can I give that
Yeah,
information then to the next analyst that's looking at my notes that this
yeah.
was whatever?
Yeah. So first of all, this doesn't preclude adding anything else to the notes that you want, right? So in Defender, you have the the analysis log or the activity log, and you have analyst comments that you can put in there. You can still do your own comments, manually whenever you want. You can also add into here. So let me show you. So here we had Copilot now process all of that, everything that happened during that investigation session, and it converts it into a easily readable recap of the summary and the log. So you can see here are my notes. Here's a summary of everything that happened. And then here you can see step by step, basically everything that the analyst did during this investigation, with a chronological list of every relevant action. And you can edit this content. So you see this is in an editor. It's basically just presented what the AI generated. You can edit, you can add, you can do whatever you want to it, and then save. So when you save it, it's saved in the activity log or in the activities tab as a log. You can see here the analyst notes, and you can come back to here and open it at any time, as well as it still goes into your activity log, and that can go to your ticketing system or case management system or anywhere where you're pulling those logs. So this is basically, at the end of the day, saving the analyst from having to go do their manual, oh, I did this, I did that, right? So, and it does it in a very granular and rich way that saves a lot of time. I think analysts don't like to do this busy work, right? You've done your investigation, that's it. Why do I make it? Why do I have to now spend time to document it?
This is pretty cool. So we can take the worry. It's a feature that needs to be turned on. It's only recording the screen. And I suggest everyone to try it out and see if they can benefit from the notes. It's also learning. And next time, maybe, oh, I spent, I don't know, that time in doing this. And it's also giving you insights into how you investigated actually.
Yeah,
Looking
exactly.
backwards. Yeah.
And you can imagine so many, I mean, you're on it, you're onto it, Heike. There's so many things that you can do now with this information outside of just the generation of these notes. You can summarize across different investigations and get insights about how they are different or the same. You can use it for training, certainly, maybe more junior analysts, you can generate SOPs from it, right? If you don't have them, kind of hinting to the previous feature, a lot of different applications.
So this is all text-based now, Corina. Does the customer have access to the video?
That's a good question. You know, all the little questions to ask, Heike. So that is coming. We are working on exposing the raw data that's recorded here in some sort of cheap storage, probably in Sentinel Lake. So that's another good reason to onboard to that. And when that's available, then yes, the customers who want to use the raw data and the actual recording can reconstruct video out of it and use it as training material also, or do again other applications with it. So it's pretty big data because it's like a video, but
of course, yeah. Also,
but
depending on how long the
super
session
useful.
is. Yeah. Corina, thank you so much. I know we are out of time. Thanks for showing us these new additional assistive capabilities that we have now in the Microsoft Defender portal. And we will talk about agents that help us to be even more autonomous in the SOC in the next episode. So until then, thank you, Corina, and thanks everyone for watching.